Welcome to Brewers Daily. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. Lots to get to on the show here today. We got another update on Freddy Peralta and his trade market. Brewers top prospect earns another honor. And also we got the Hall of Fame voting results that just came out here yesterday. So I want to get into that. That's where we're going to start here with the Hall of Fame ballot coming out. Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones elected to the Hall of Fame. Both very deserving players, absolutely, with what they did over their career. Andrew Jones, I'm surprised it took him this long. I understood that once he got past 30, wasn't really doing that great, but his prime, I mean, that first 10 years, just incredible. So happy for those guys to get in, but we got the full voting results. Francisco Rodriguez was able to stay on for another year, got about 11.8% of the vote, so he will continue on for another season, though still not necessarily tracking towards induction. However, also a couple other former Brewers first-time eligibles. Most importantly, most notably, Ryan Braun was eligible for the first time this year, and he ended up receiving 15 votes for the Hall of Fame, which is honestly 15 more than I thought he was going to get. With his steroid scandal, with the way his career kind of ended up afterwards, the injuries, how short it was, really, the numbers that he got. I'm surprised he got that many. I've said for a while that you could make a fringe statistical case for Ryan Braun to be inducted. Very fringe statistically, but then when you add the steroids on top of it, zero chance he's ever actually going to get in. But he gets 15 votes, which comes out to about 3.5%, which means he falls short of the 5% threshold to remain on the ballot for another year. And he was about 7 votes short. He got 15, he needed about 7 more. He's at 3.5%, so he got close. And he actually got the second most votes of anyone in this first-year eligible class. The only one who got enough votes to stay on for another year was Cole Hamels. So Ryan Braun right behind that in terms of voting numbers. But alas, he did not get a chance to stay on for another season. Not surprising at all, but that will be the end for his Hall of Fame case. Now, granted, there could be the veterans committees down the road, but I've got a hard time believing Ryan Braun's going to ultimately get there just because of, again, the shortness of his career, the steroid scandal. It's just, I don't see it ending up happening. But great for him to receive 15 votes. Again, that's 15 more than I thought he was going to get. Another former Brewer, Gio Gonzalez. He was a Brewer for a little bit in 2018. He got 0 votes, and he fell off the ballot there. So again, not entirely surprising. Gio Gonzalez, a very good player, but certainly never seemed like the Hall of Fame type of guy. Had a nice long career, but more of a Hall of Pretty Good kind of guy than a Hall of Fame kind of guy. So, now I want to kind of look at here the guys that are going to be coming up next year, because we're looking at, now that this year's class is done, it's time to kind of look at next year and what could be coming up. And the class next year is going to be headlined by Buster Posey and John Lester. Those are going to be 2 of the bigger names on the ballot next season. But there are some other former Brewers in here as well that you want to mention. Jordan Zimmerman, Wisconsin native. It had a really good run, mostly with the Washington Nationals, but he was a Brewer for like a couple of outings. I'm not expecting Jordan Zimmerman to get any traction for the Hall of Fame, but he'll be eligible. Jonathan Lucroy, longtime Brewer. He had a very nice career over 11 years that he played. Again, don't think he's really going to get much of a look for induction. Maybe he'll get a handful of votes, but I'm not expecting a ton. He had a couple really good seasons, but it wasn't a truly dominant peak. I mean, there was maybe a 1 or 2 year stretch. He was considered the best year or the best catcher in baseball, but I'm not really expecting Lucroy to get much run there as well. Then we go down. Joakim Soria, I believe, was a Brewer for a little bit. He'll be eligible. Also, Neftali Feliz. Neftali Feliz was a Brewer for a little bit. His most dominant run came with the Texas Rangers. The Brewers had him for a little bit several years ago towards the end of his career. And that was really kind of it for him, really. I think he was really kind of at the end. Feliz also Not expecting him to gain much traction. Also, John Axford. John Axford's going to be Hall of Fame eligible for the first time next year. He had that big run with the Brewers in 2011 where he was the most dominant closer in baseball with what he was doing. And, we came back for the Brewers that one time and blew out his arm in that first outing, which was tough. But, he had a nice long career as a reliever, bounced around for a little while. I mean, he was dominant for a little bit. But as a reliever, not having the truly, career-long dominance at that closer position, it's going to be very hard for him to get in there as a reliever. So, also not expecting much for John Axford. Hall of Very good, but he's not a Hall of Fame, most likely, kind of player. But we got a couple more Brewers names that are going to be eligible for the ballot next season. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on as well. And now I want to get to really kind of the main story of the offseason, Freddy Peralta and the trade rumors surrounding him. What are the Brewers going to do? Saw a piece come out from Katie Wu of The Athletic, she was the Cardinals beat writer. Now she covers the Dodgers, and her piece goes into more detail on the Dodgers' pursuit of Freddy Peralta, because of course they are. Why wouldn't they? Because they need the guy that's on a team-friendly contract, because they have the ability to just do that, and why not? But that's really kind of what she's putting out there. The Dodgers, once again, hard after Freddy Peralta, and how all of this is going to pan out, we don't know. But still, they're very much interested. They have, a ton of young arms to look at here. River Ryan, Emmett Sheehan, Justin Wrobleski, Gavin Stone. Those are all the ones I named previously. She also named Ben Kasparius in that group as a young pitcher that the Brewers could be looking at for a Major League ready replacement in their rotation for Freddy Peralta that they're going to be searching for. Because if they're trading Peralta, they've got to be getting a Major League ready rotation replacement back in return for him. That's what they're putting out there. That's what they're asking for. And the Dodgers, they do have a bunch of these good pitching prospects that are blocked by the likes of Blake Snell and Yoshi Yamamoto and Shohei Ohtani and Tyler Glasnow and all their other billion-dollar ace pitchers that they got on that team. So they need room for those guys. And, trading them to the Brewers may be the one that makes the most sense for them. I really would hate to see the Brewers trade him to the Dodgers of all places. I'd rather see Peralta. If Peralta's going to be traded, I'd rather he get traded to the American League, or at the very least, not the team you're going to have to go through in order to get to the World Series. Preferably, that would be nice. Just seeing what the Dodgers did to you in the NLCS, giving them Freddy Peralta on top of that, giving them your best player, arguably. I don't see how that will get you any closer to a World Series. And that's the ultimate goal here, right? That's the goal, to get to the World Series, to win the World Series. In order to win the World Series, you're going to have to go through the Dodgers. There's no way around that. And your best chance of getting through the Dodgers is not to give the Dodgers Freddy Peralta. There's nothing you can do about them getting Kyle Tucker or them getting Ohtani or them getting Yamamoto. There's nothing you can do about that. But what you can do is not gift them Freddy Peralta. That's all that I'm saying. And I understand that it'd be a trade, you're getting whatever back, but it's nothing that they're going to miss. Whatever players that they send back, no matter how good they are, it's no one that the Dodgers are going to miss, which kind of makes it a little bit tougher to pull the trigger on. So, I'd rather he get traded elsewhere. Even if it still is elsewhere in the National League, like the New York Mets, you don't necessarily have to go through the New York Mets in order to win the World Series, in order to get there. You don't necessarily have to go through them. You will have to go through the Dodgers. There is simply no way around that at this point. So, Katie Wu is putting out there that the Dodgers, because they haven't even dipped into their prospect capital at all, they've just spent money because they're the Dodgers. That's what they can do. They have a ton of prospect capital that they can offer the Brewers. So on paper, they can line up pretty well. But just with what happened this last postseason And it's tough emotionally to pull the trigger on something like that. And the Brewers do have the leverage here, as Katie Wu pointed out. They don't need to trade him. They very easily can keep him and hold him. They don't have to move him. So the Brewers have all the leverage, and they're going to use every ounce of that they can in order to try and get the best possible return. Otherwise, they're just simply not going to make the move. So it's one to watch for sure. There's a lot of smoke about Freddy Peralta and the Dodgers. There's still plenty of other teams in the mix on Peralta. He's still got the Mets, the Yankees, the Braves, the Giants as the named teams. But there are also many others because every small market team can also use Peralta. I'm not expecting it to be in division like the Pirates or the Reds, or the Cardinals. Cardinals aren't doing that. They're trying to rebuild. Brewers certainly aren't going to trade him to the Cubs. That much is a fact. So, maybe you could look at AL Central for some of those small market clubs if they're trying to line something up. But it's a tough one, certainly. But the Dodgers, a ton of smoke about them right now. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going there. The Brewers could still trade him to someplace else. They could still keep him. But we've seen this with trade rumors before, where there's a lot of smoke about this player going to one team, and then ultimately in the end he goes to someone else. And so just because there's all this smoke about the Dodgers does not necessarily mean that Freddy Peralta is going to go to the Dodgers. Could happen, but doesn't mean it's a foregone conclusion. Lastly here, I want to highlight Andrew Fischer, the Brewers' first-round draft pick from this past season. MLB Pipeline put out their top 10 third base prospects in baseball heading into the season, and Andrew Fischer came in at number 1. So, he's tops on the list. He had a great debut after getting drafted this past season out of Tennessee, and he's figuring to start at High A, Wisconsin once again. And he's got the hit tool. He's got power. He's a good defender. So, he's someone that certainly makes sense. And the fact that he's a top third base prospect in baseball tells me he's probably a top 100 guy as well with that group. So Brock Wilken was also on that top 10 list. He came in as the 9th best third base prospect. So 2 third basemen on the top 10 list. Now that's a position that the Brewers haven't really had long-term solutions at. We all talk about first base and how they haven't had a long-term solution there since Prince Fielder, but third base has also kind of been a revolving door in recent years. So that's another position. If you can get that locked down for several years, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. And the Brewers have targeted corner infielders. They have targeted third baseman, first baseman type guys early in the draft in recent years. So doesn't really come as a surprise, but great to see the recognition for Andrew Fischer, and I'm very excited for what he's going to be able to do in his first full season in pro ball this year. So I'm very excited for that. Excited to see what will happen with Freddy Peralta, if he stays, if he goes. Hopefully it's not to the Dodgers, but again, there's a lot of smoke on that. But we'll keep you posted here on Brewers Daily, so be sure to subscribe, get notified every single time a new episode drops every single day. We're here for you, and also follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. I'll have instant reactions to whatever is going on in the world of the Milwaukee Brewers going on over there. And we'll see you again next time. Appreciate you watching, appreciate you enjoying, and we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.